What's up, everyone? You guys know me, I'm Jay, DCA Adventure, bringing to you another video on how to draw support and resistance lines. And we will possibly go over trend lines if we get through it fast enough. First off, this is not financial advice. And if you guys could like and subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, that would be awesome. That way you guys are not missing out on videos we are putting out. Also, if you guys like our content and you would like private access to a couple of our Discord rooms, you can join our Patreon. We have several different tiers. My tier is called Trading with a View. Joining my tier in the Patreon will get you access to the private group in our Discord, and will get you access to the DCA trading script, which is very awesome and helpful. And by you guys joining the Patreon helps us help you. So with that being said, let's just jump right into it. What are support and resistance? What is it? Well, basically what support and resistance is it's just telling us where there is supply and demand. Where we have people buying, where we have people selling. When people first start learning how to trade, they use support and resistance as places to enter their position, exit their position, have their stop losses. I guess that's good to think like that in the beginning, but it's actually not the right way to do it. We'll go over a couple ways to set your entry and exits, because there's things like stop hunts and stuff like that that will take you out. When you have a whole bunch of people looking at the same area on a chart, especially with support and resistance, once you get a bunch of people there, things are more likely to happen. So if you have a bunch of people looking at your support, and obviously all those guys are going to be like, okay, well, this is where we're going to put our buy in, right down here by support. Well, yeah, that's good, but usually we overshoot support with a wick, and that's taking out your stop loss. So there's really no way around the stop hunts. You just have to kind of put your stop a little bit farther, and we'll get a little bit more into detail on that. But a lot of people think that support and resistance are just lines on your chart. That is true, but that is not right. That is not the right way of thinking. You need to think of support and resistance as areas on your chart, not lines. And we will kind of just go in here. I'll show you a couple examples. Alright, so this is an area of resistance. Okay, this is where we have sell pressure. Okay, and a lot of people, especially new people, are going to draw their resistance lines, right at where the price action stops. For support to be valid, you want to draw your line with as most touches as possible. Okay, and how I do that is I kind of use the body of the wick from the bottom of support or resistance to the very top area of resistance. So the low to the high of resistance. Same with support. I will go from the high of support down to the low of support. And that's kind of what this grayed in box is showing you. It's showing you the area. Down here you have your lowest point of resistance, and then up here is your highest point of resistance. Here's an example of your support. This is an area of support. When I first started trading, I was super guilty of doing this. I would just draw one line and say this is my support. And I would always put, put my position in right at the support line, and then I'd put my stop loss right below support. And 90% of the time you're going to get taken out because we are going to overshoot a little bit with a wick or a stop hunt. It doesn't happen every time, but more times out of none it does. So you need to be prepared for that, kind of watch for it. When I first learned how to trade and draw support and resistance, I was under the impression that the more times support and resistance were tested, the stronger it became. That is also wrong again. I totally learned the wrong way. That's the whole point of making these videos, is to get you guys to not make the same mistakes that I made when I first started out. The truth is, each time support and resistance is tested, it gets weaker every single time. And I'll explain to you why. Because let's say you have, well, why don't we just pull up a chart and we will, I can't see my X. Okay. We got the most touches right there. I'm just using this as an example on what happens with support and resistance each time it's tested, how it gets weaker. Okay, as you see, we came down and tested support a bunch of times through here, and a bunch of times through here, a bunch of times through here. Every time you come down and you're testing support, you're testing all the guys down here that have buy orders in. Well, what's going to happen, you test it so many times and all the buy orders are gone. You have bought them all and there's nothing left to buy. That's where you get your breakdown. And as you can see here, we broke down. Kind of wasn't the best example. Here's another decent one. This is a line of support right here. Each time we tested that, it got weaker, 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 and we broke down. Same with over here. Each time we tested, weaker, 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 we bought all the buy orders up, we ate them all up, and then we ended up breaking down. Show you guys how to actually draw it on the chart, but the same with it. Each time we test the support and then eventually we will break down, it's the same with the resistance. Every time we test it, it's going to get weaker and weaker and weaker, because obviously we got people selling up there. So eventually, once we get all the sell orders ate up, what left is there to sell? Nothing. So then eventually we'll do a reversal and we will break to the upside. Could show you a few examples of that real quick. While I'm drawing these lines, I want to bring up too that if you are, I'm jumping ahead of myself, we'll just go ahead and draw the line here. As you can see, we tested resistance several times. And then eventually, we broke up. Scroll over. Haven't had too many up days in Bitcoin, so it's kind of hard to find something here. touch resistance, 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 hit it again, and a whole bunch of times over here, then finally broke down. Now how I do this is I go in and I get my little rectangle, okay? Now, drawing support, it's wherever the price action's coming down and touching the most points in the same spot, okay? You can use wicks, but this is where you need to draw an area, not drawing just a line, okay? Because you'll end up overshooting your support or your resistance. So as you can see, right through here, we have decent support. We got a whole bunch of touches. Now, your wicks can go past it a little bit, you know what I'm saying? I'm going to show you how to draw the box here. So from this area to this area is your support. Okay, so you could have a buy here at 9,500 area. You could have another buy down here at the 9,400 area, and you could put your stop loss right below your box. That will help a little bit with the stop hunts. It's not going to stop them all the way, but it does help a little bit. And same with your resistance, you can do the same thing. Back up here and get me dang square. You can see we had multiple touches. Had multiple touches here, here. Could actually even drop it down just a little bit more. So from this area to this area is your resistance. So you could put your sell orders anywhere into this box and then put your stop loss right on the other side of that box. Not saying it's going to work every single time, but it will. You will hit your trade more time, a lot more than you will lose. And if you're using proper risk, then if you do get stopped out, it's not like you're losing a whole bunch anyways. Another good rule of thumb that anytime you have old support, it becomes new resistance. So always look left on your chart, zoom out. If you're waking up for the day and you're getting ready to trade and you're getting ready to look at the charts, the best way to find support and resistance is to zoom out. Not even so much on a higher time frame, but just zoom out your chart, scroll it back, 5 to 10 clicks. And then basically what you want to do is you want to draw in the most obvious levels, okay? The reason why I say the most obvious levels is because mainly they're going to be the biggest moves up or down, okay? And the obvious points is where everybody else is watching. So that's where we kind of want to draw in our area and put our position accordingly to that, and our stop losses according to our area, to our support and resistance area. So we'll go out here on the day, we'll scroll. I'm already scrolled out pretty far. And what I do is I got the horizontal line in my favorites. I just click on that, and what the horizontal line does, as soon as you find an area and you click it, it's going to send the line all the way across your screen. It ain't like your trend line where you actually have to physically move it. So a most obvious area here for some support would be right there. Here's another one right there. And this is where I want to show you. Old support over here See, we got old support right there. It turns into resistance right here. New resistance. Pretend like none of that is even there yet. Old support becomes new resistance, and vice versa. Okay? Old resistance will become new support. So for example, we had resistance here, we had resistance through here. Get our line. Resistance, resistance, support, resistance, turns into support. Let me see here. There also is two different kinds of support and resistance. There is support and resistance, and then there's dynamic support and resistance. And the dynamic support and resistance would be using moving averages. And we went over this in my last video, how moving averages can act as support and resistance. I will show you guys one more time since we are on the subject. You just go into your indicators and type in MA 3 times. I'm not on my paid account right now. Settings. Red. Make this one the 200 day. Day, make blue. Okay, so for your dynamic support and resistance, it's using the moving averages or using trend lines or something of the such. And basically what the moving averages do, or the trend lines, as you draw them, they will act as support and resistance. I will scroll down here on the lower time frame. Alright, when using moving averages and using them to trade, you want your short moving average on top of your longer moving averages. And as you can see, that is how it worked out right here on one of the recent pumps we had on Bitcoin. You see here that our 50-day moving average is above the 100 and the 200. We had the crosses down here. Those are considered golden crosses. But when that 50-day is above both of these two moving averages, you can literally just, every time we shoot up and we come back and test the 50-day as support, then you could long there. And that's goes along too with making sure that you identify the trend and you know exactly what is going on, because if you're trading against a trend, then obviously you're going to lose. So you need to definitely make sure that you're in the right trend, you know, with higher highs and lower lows and lower highs and lower lows. So here clearly this is an uptrend. So each time we came up and came back, this 50 days acting as support right here. So we could have longed right here in this position, and we could have came up, we could have got out somewheres in here at resistance. Okay, because this is Our resistance, we have several touches through here, but this is an area, okay, because not only do you have, you want your line to be at the most touches, and then you can pull your area, your rectangle. Right in there. So in this box right here is your resistance. So you could have rode up, we pulled back, tested support, took a long position, came up, now we're in resistance. We would have got out somewhere in here, we came back down, tested the 50-day of support. Good to go, we could have long. And you can do this and it'll work for you all the way up until it doesn't work. And as you can see, we start getting tight here with the MAs, and we ended up crossing, and now we're back below the moving averages. So this strategy is no longer valid. You can't trade it no more, but this whole entire time, as soon as you seen this cross and we were above, this whole time right here, you could have been trading in a long, because we are in an uptrend on the hour chart, okay? And obviously now that we are crossing, we're gonna start heading down. But get in the habit of drawing your support and resistance as an area on your chart, so that way you know the range of your resistance. Same with your support. You always want your first line up as many touches as possible. Let's check my notes, make sure I'm not missing anything. And I think the next video we'll go over more about your entries and exits, because there's a certain formula that I use to actually calculate where I'm gonna set in, and it actually takes into account stop hunts and stuff like that. Yeah, that's pretty much everything for support and resistance, really. I mean, it's super easy. There's all kinds of strategies that you can do around support and resistance. That's the biggest thing in trading, is definitely finding out what works for you and do that. You know, because not every person's strategy is right for everybody else. You know what I'm saying? So now we can kind of go on a little bit about trend lines. Basically, what a trend line does is help you identify a trend. And they can be complicated to use if you're not using them right. The best way there's two ways you can draw trends. You can either draw using the wicks, or you can draw using the bodies. If you're drawing your trend line using the wicks, you need to stay consistent and always use the wicks for whatever lines you're drawing on that chart. Same with if you're using the body. If you're using the body, stay with using the body. You have to stay consistent. You can't have one trend line in your channel be drawn on top of the wicks, and then the bottom line that you're using for your channel is drawn on with the bodies, because that's not going to be accurate. It'll contradict itself, and stuff won't line up the way it should. I use Heiken to sheet candles. you can't, regular candles, it doesn't hurt to use. I just like Haikin because it takes out all the noise. But we'll move to these regular candles. So, trend lines. At least 2 touches for the trend to be made, but you need 3 for it to be valid. Okay? And basically, trend lines will help us figure out reversals, breakouts, and sometimes they'll help us recognize different chart patterns depending on how you draw it on your chart. There's descending triangles, ascending triangles, and that'll be a whole nother video in itself. I just want to kind of go over the basics on how to draw a trend line, and the basic principles of a trend is lower highs and lower lows for a downtrend, and higher highs and higher lows for an uptrend. So I did a video about that. Definitely something that you have to know and remember in order to be trading with the trend. Because remember, if you're trading with the trend, you will be in the trade for longer. The duration of your trade will be longer. If you're trading against it, you're not going to be in the trade as long. So your stops and everything will have to be adjusted accordingly. And for a trend line too, when you draw a trend line, you can't have any candle closing above the trend line, okay? Or it'll make it invalid. Everything has to be below it, depending on how you're drawing your line, and I will show you here in a minute exactly what I'm talking about. And we will just show you right here. Hang on one second. Okay. So if I was drawing a trend line on this chart right here, I do both. I do draw wicks and I draw bodies, but I'm consistent. If I'm drawing wicks, then I stay with wicks on top, bottom, whatever it is that I'm doing, and vice versa. If I start to draw one with a body, then I stay at the bodies. And I'm going to show you what I mean here. Okay, so let's say I'm going to start right here. Oh, I got the wrong line up. And your trend line's this one up here. It's usually right here on the left top. I have a favorite toolbar. These are the ones I use the most, so that's why this is up here. But for your trend line to stay valid, you can't have nothing close above it, okay? So you can have wicks that come up above it, but as long as the body of the candle is not closing above it. So right what we got right here, that is a valid trend line. See how the body of the candle, I'm drawing right on the body. And yeah, there is some wicks here, but we're for the most part down on the body. Now if I went down like this, that's invalid because my candle's right here closing above the trend line. This is how I do a lot of my trading. I draw triangles. So I will find the trend, and then I will come in and I will find my support. Boom, boom. And then I know that when we get close to the end of the candle, we are going to have a breakout. Whether we break up or down, that all depends on the type of triangle that you drew. If it is an ascending triangle pointing upwards, we will have a break out to the upside. Ascending triangle is bullish. Now if it's a descending triangle pointing to the downside, it will break down, just like it says. Descending triangles are bearish. But as you can see, the triangle gets right to the end, our price action, and then boom, we break down. Let's see if we can find another. Yeah, I guess you could kind of call that a trend line. We have multiple touches there, nothing closed outside of the line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, at least half a dozen, 10, 15 times it touched there. So that is definitely a valid trend to the upside. Here's some more support right here. This area of support. Okay, go back, we'll jump back to the support since this is a good example, but this is where people, new traders, and you get 100,000 of new traders together, and they're all looking at this support. Okay, let's see if I can move this. Move this off here and put a regular support line. Okay, so if you was just going to draw a regular support, don't worry about all these wicks. You want to be up here, all the bottoms of the bodies and everything are touching the most. Okay, so right here is your actual support. Now, 100 million of us are all looking at the exact same spot. So we're going to say, okay, we're going to put our position down here. This is where we want our entry. Okay, so you would have put your entry in here, and then boom, you'd have put a stop down here right below, and let's make a line for the stop loss. Okay, so the yellow line is your entry. This is where you placed your position. Okay, and the red line is your stop loss. Okay, well, you just got screwed because look at all the stop hunts we just had. Oops. Stop hunt there. 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 If you would have had your area drawn on there, you could have moved your stop, actually put your stop right here below this, and you would have caught this nice little long right here. But this is where it helps to go in, like I said at the beginning of the video, and marking out the most obvious points of your support and resistance. And you can change your colors. I like my support to be green and my resistance to be red. It's just easier to decipher that way when you're looking on the chart. But you can see here, that's support or that's resistance. More resistance right there. and you do all these in areas. Remember, not just lines. You cannot think of support and resistance as lines. You need to be thinking about it as area. So we could have went right there, right there. So here, if you were trying to short, okay, and we were back here, you could have placed your short anywhere in this area. You could have went right up here and put your short, and then you could have put your stop loss right above the box there, and you would have caught this nice little short dip right here, and then you could have taken profit right down at the support line. Support and resistance are super crucial to building a proper strategy and becoming a profitable trader. If you're drawing your support and resistance wrong, you're going to get killed in the stop hunts every time. It's important that you draw support and resistance as area. Do not draw lines. Alright guys, that's basically it. My next few videos here are just going to be super short and simple. I'm going to just go over a couple things and make it as simple as possible. It's easier for me and it's easier for you guys. I hate watching videos that are 3 hours long, you know, talking about calculations and all this and that. If you want to get that deep into it, you look that up on yourself. It's good exercise for you to learn. Instead of having me sit on here and ramble on about, you know, stuff that really doesn't matter. But yes, guys, definitely come join our Discord, Crypto Mentors, and the DCA Discord. Links for both of those will be in the description at the bottom. I do trading signals, and we have all kinds of educational stuff in the Crypto Mentors Discord. And if you join the Patreon, I do signals in the DCA Discord channel as well. And like I said, you'll get access to that script too. Oh, and shout out to Doge Lord. You guys want any of the sweetest Bitcoin merch that you can get, go check him out. That link will be in the description as well. Definitely check him out. I do believe if you use free shipping in the coupon code, I do believe it works and you won't have to pay shipping on any of your stuff. So I'll have to double check on that, but I'm pretty sure that's how it goes. But alright guys, I hope everyone has a good night, and until next time, next Wednesday, I will see you all again. Have a good night.